Hello everyone, this is Varun Arya and you're watching me on my channel The Classrooms. Friends, today we are going to discuss George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw, the great George Bernard Shaw was a great modernist, a socialist, a great philosopher, a free thinker, advocate of women rights, and so many titles can be associated to him. But we as a student of literature are chiefly concerned to him as to study him as a dramatist. So we will think about him as a dramatist. How was he? And we are going to take an overview of his life and career as a dramatist and his life as a whole. So stay tuned with me, join me on this video and watch it to full extent so that you can get a lot of information regarding to George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw was a great dramatist as well. He also tried his hand in the novels, but that was utmost failure. It was not commercially or critically acclaimed in his younger age. He was the only person before 2016 who was awarded both Academy Award, I mean to say the Oscar and the Nobel Prize, and he is the only person before 2016 who was awarded both the awards at the same time, and the first ever in the history he was. So who was the second person who is joining this league? We'll discuss about him in the later section, and we will discuss today life and works of the George Bernard Shaw, and we will discuss his major works only, because he has done a lot of work, and we can't complete that in a single video. So we will discuss here his major plays and his major works and his life in this video. We are discussing George Bernard Shaw, and we will discuss his life right now. He was born in 1856. Remember, he was born in 19th century, middle of the 19th century, and born in 1856, and he died in 1950. So when he died, he was 94-year old at that age. So he lived a healthy life. We can say a 94-year age is a good age to die at. So he was an Irish writer. We should keep in mind that he was from Ireland, and from Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, and he was also an Irish writer. Friends, he is although he is an Irish writer, but he later he moved to London. London is the Karma Bhumi of all the artists in the England and in Western world. Likewise, as in our India, all the artists who are associated with cinematography and theatre, they move towards the Mumbai, which was earlier called as Bombay, and the Bollywood. They moved towards the Bombay to get their career bones towards their aspirations. And now we are talking about George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw also moved to London. London is Karma Bhumi, you can say. London is the Karma Bhumi of her. And when he moved, he was only 20-year-old. Friends, we will discuss this later. First of all, let's regard what are the titles associated with him, why he is so popular among the writers, and why he is so important for the student of English literature to study him in detail. So he was, first of all, he is known as a modern dramatist. Keep in mind, he was a modern dramatist. His works are of such a level that for his dramas he won Nobel Prize in 1925. So he won Nobel Prize in 1925, and he wrote screenplay of a film which was made on based on his own play Pygmalion, and the movie was named as My Fair Lady, and he won Oscar for his work in that movie. He worked as a screenplay writer, and he won the Academy Award in 1938. So at that moment, he was the only person in the history of the English literature and in the world who won both Academy as well as the Nobel Prize. So the Nobel laureate was a dramatist to full extent, a full-time dramatist. Then he was a critic. He was a critic. He joined criticism before he was anyone else. He started as a novelist in the London, but his all his 5 novels who he wrote in his early life, the 5 novels, they all dumped. They commercially and critically failed, and it brought a lot of despair for the George Bernard Shaw. And then his friend asked him to join him in the criticism of music and drama, and he was first critic, and then after that he learned criticism, and then he learned you can say he became a dramatist. So he was he was also a polemicist. I told you earlier, the polemicist is a person who attacks government's policies directly without ridiculing or satirizing him, and he was one of them. He was also women right activist, and his works also present an example of this. He also shown women as equal to men. So also an economist. He was economist and co-founder, keep in mind, co-founder of London School of Economy. London School of Economy, he was a co-founder there with other he was co-founder of London School of Economy, and that's why he was known as a great economist as well. And socialist, he was a socialist, and he was associated with Fabian Society. He was associated with Fabian Society and was a great socialist. And journalist, he worked for My Corner and the Mall Gazette, and there are too many in his initial stage of his life. When he was working as a novelist in London, when he came to London, during that time he also worked as journalist. So let's talk about his life, his personal life, I mean to say. These are kind of aspects, they are related to his career, but let's discuss his life as whole, as a person. George Bernard Shaw was born to an Irish man, and he was kind of drunkard. It is said that he was not taken care properly. He wasn't from that background, that he hasn't got that kind of upbringing that one should have. So it is very clear that his father was a drunkard, but his mother was a noble lady, and she was a opera singer. And you can say art is gifted in his family already. He brought and these things from his family, and she was an opera singer. He had her two sisters who were older to him, and he was the third, and he was a son. So when he was 15, his mother moved with his daughter to the London, and he remained with his father in Ireland, Dublin. And what happens there? He has he's like, you can say, kind of detest for his father. He was not his father was not in his good books, because of his alcoholism, and so that is why he hated him. He hated him, and he hated him to such an extent that he also hated the alcohol to such an he never touched alcohol in his whole life of 94-year age. So he was a pure vegetarian and a person who haven't tasted alcohol in his life. So this led him to live a life of a Puritan life. So we will discuss in later section again. And he was by religion, he was Protestant. His family was Protestant, he was too Protestant, but in earlier stages of his life, his faith for the religion, he has no faith in Christianity. He has nothing to do with the religion. He was a kind of atheist at that time, but later on he moved towards the life of a Puritan. So this was all about his initial life. Then when he was 20-year-old, he moved to London with to her mother. He moved to London, and here he started his career as a novelist. Let me tell you one thing. George Bernard Shaw wanted himself to be called as only Bernard Shaw. It was his choice. So he wanted to avoid name George from his name. So when he moved to the London at the age of 20 to with his mother, towards his mother, he first of all he worked as a journalist, as a critic. As a journalist, he worked for certain magazines, and there are few journals. Let me discuss one by one them. You can keep their name in your mind. They are important as the examination point of view. And it was Dramatic Review. First of all, Dramatic Review, then Our Corner, Pall Mall Gazette, The World, The Star, and Saturday Review, etc. These were the few journals in which he worked initially. Before that, he worked as a clerk at the age of 15, and he was having a good reputation. It is said that his education was not of a good standard, but he got elementary knowledge and initial education at Ireland, Dublin. And what his interest in studies, and he was so sharp student, and they were very sharp, quite able person. He worked as a clerk and earned a good reputation there. And then he moved to London. When he moved to London, and he worked as a novelist, first of all journalist. And when he was working as a journalist, and then he moved towards the criticism and writing criticism for fewer of the plays and dramatic music and you can say dramas. He was working as a critic, and he earned a good reputation there also. He was attacking the artificiality of the London drama theatre, the kind of artificial that is imposed artificiality. He criticized that and attacked that bitterly in London. Then, as a novelist, he wrote during that was a time 1879 to 1882. He wrote 4 to 5 novels. They were both critically as well as commercially unsuccessful, and a few of them never published. They published very late in his life. But I will let you know few names of them. One of them was Immaturity. Then it was about the marriage and problem of marriage. Then it was The Irrational Knot. It was about the marriage. It is supposed that his parents' marriage was not in good terms, and it had a great effect on Bernard Shaw, and it was that is why in these novels he's having autobiographical touch, and this autobiographical touch is quite obedient in these novels. And among all his novels, one is the Cast Byron's Profession is considered as one of the best. Cast Byron's Profession. Then there was an Unsocial Socialist, Love Among the Artists. These are few name you can learn. But as I told earlier, novelists are as a novelist, it wasn't a good time for his in his life tenure. Then the only good thing happened during these years. That was he joined London Society, that is the Fabian Society of London, in 1882. And he said in his one of his interview that it changed my whole current of my life. It changed whole current of my life when he visited there, and it had such a great impact on his mind, and it affected him, influenced him to such extent that he said that it changed whole current of his life. At there, he learned the social and humanitarian philosophy, and he was so inspired that after that he started working and teaching people the moral values, and he attacked people and satirized people in his dramas. He satirized and attacked them very fiercely. So during this time he joined London Fabian Society of London. So this was all during the earlier his period. Then how he became dramatist. Then when he was working as a critic, one of his friend or a mentor, you can say, William Archer, he was a dramatic critic, and he asked him to write a few dialogues for a French play, but he was not satisfied with the work he has done. That work was quite incomplete, and the William Archer was not satisfied with Shaw's work. Anyhow, what happens when he was working for a play during that time, although his work was not appreciated by the William Archer, but it came in his mind, somewhere in his mind it came that he was already a dramatic critic, as well as he was writing for a translation of a play, he was writing dialogues. Then he thought, why can't he write? And as a result, there comes in 1892 the Widow's Houses. Widow's Houses was a result of that kind of innovation in his mind. When he wrote Widow's Houses, there come a storm in the whole of the literary world. The ideas that he exploited were quite revolutionary, and they were not traditional ideas. And in that way, a new sensation in the drama world arrived. That was George Bernard Shaw as a dramatist. After writing this Widow's House, he gave a number of plays, a number of dramas to the literary world. He gave 60 years, you can say. He worked for 60 years. When he died, he was 94, and it was a time during almost, you can say, it was time when he was 34 or 35 at that time, and he worked 60. He gave 60 years to the literary world, and you can imagine, you can say, he wrote more than 60 plays in his life and a number of other works. So his main purpose was to serve people. He wanted to criticize and educate people and want to reform the society. He want to ask people to rethink about the ideas they are thinking that they were good. So Shaw chose the drama as a mean whereby to criticize and educate the society. So his drama was both educating as well as criticizing the people. And he himself claimed that the my characters that I am playing with, they are my puppets, and I am not playing with it's not, discussion was not going on, we are not trying to derogate or trying to humiliate a character in my play. I want to humiliate the society, the audience who's watching my play. So he was quite direct in his way. So he wanted to shake people out of then the social compliances and their beliefs. And their subject was shattering number of social, political, and economic doctrines. He want to make change in them, and through his doctrine. He was politically activist as well. He was a good student of economics. As I told you earlier that he was a co-founder of London School of Economics. So he had a great command among the subject like economics and politics as well. So that is why his subjects were quite related to that kind of topics in the field that the knowledge he is occupying at that time. But what happens, there is also a other side of George Bernard Shaw, that was the phonetics. When you will read the Pygmalion, in Pygmalion you will see that there is a Professor Higgins, who is the professor of phonetics, and in literal way he also agitated for the simplification and the reform in the English alphabetical system. So he agitated for simplification of spelling and punctuations and reforming English alphabetical system. He was also a kind of activist in that field too. And you will find, now we are going to discuss all his works. We will not discuss them in detail. We will discuss just to touch them, and for each and every play we will have a separate video which will let us a deep insight of the topics he has touched in his life. So today let's discuss his few of, I will say, the most decorated and most remarked works of George Bernard Shaw. When we come to discuss the plays of George Bernard Shaw, there are two kind of categories in his plays. The first of three are categorized as the plays the unpleasant. They're called unpleasant play, and the rest of his work is called as a pleasant plays. And why unpleasant? Because they were more and more discussions. There were more kind of discussions in that plays, and there was very less of entertainment, touch of entertainment, you can say. But they were less entertaining and more discussing, and there was a kind of preaching sermons. That kind of screenplay was there in that kind of plays. That's why they were not so entertaining and they were unpleasant plays. And rest of other work that he has done, they are pleasant because there was both the element of entertainment and as well as and the education and the style, you can say. So let's discuss them one by one. They are, first of all, the play unpleasant. As I told, the first was the Widower's House, Mrs. Warren's Profession, and one the Flanders. These kind of plays were unpleasant play. They were involving more and more discussions. It is told that George Bernard Shaw had great skills in a kind of intellect in the debates, and his characters are engaged in his way of debate, and that is why the most of his plays are discussion plays. And then there comes the other. Then we come to Arms and the Man. it was the fourth play of George Bernard Shaw, and it was the play which gave him recognition in the house of the dramatists, and he is getting his recognition as the dramatist. He settles his feet there in the field of as a playwright. So Arms and the Men was the first of all his first play which gave him an anchor in the world of the drama, and it was somewhere in 1894, and it was a satire on the war. We will discuss characters and all other themes and various aspects of the play one by one in each video, because whichever we are studying, they are very important topics that have been highlighted here. So you have to be in touch with us, that you have to watch our other videos regarding, we will on the Man and the Arms and the Man. Then we have Candida. It was a romantic comedy, and it came in somewhere 1894 to 95. And then there is Caesar and Cleopatra. It was based on Shakespeare's Caesar and Cleopatra. Shakespeare, one of his play. And then there comes Man and the Superman. It was based on John Donne in Hell, and it also explores the doctrine of life force, that doctrine, the philosophy that George Bernard Shaw preaches to us. And that was Man and Superman. It was also one of the most prominent work of George Bernard Shaw. Then there comes Major Barbara in 1905 and Dr. Jeremiah in 1906. Then The Dark Lady of Sonnets. It was the only play which involves him. He implies Shakespeare as his character. He uses William Shakespeare as his character, The Dark Lady of Sonnets. And then there comes Pygmalion. Pygmalion was a landmark work of William Shakespeare. George Bernard Shaw. It was landmark work because it is a work that the most of people remind him because of the Pygmalion. And the Pygmalion, then Heartbreak House. Saint John was again a prominent, you can say, one of the a work that came in his later stage of his life, but it was a very much landmark work, and after Saint John he got the Nobel Prize. And then there is also worth mentioning one more play, that is The Apple Cart. And with this we will conclude our video for the day, because we will discuss each of this play in a separate video and individual video, you can say, and they are very important plays of George Bernard Shaw. So friends, this was a general overview. This video is not a complete discussion of George Bernard Shaw, because the man who has worked for 60 years, he can't be concluded in a 30 to 40 minute video. So we will discuss other his work and his philosophy in another of his video. Friends, if you haven't subscribed our channel, please go to subscribe that. And if you find this video helpful to you, please like and subscribe as well, and share too, and give your valuable feedbacks in the comment section. Friends, this is Varun Arya on behalf of the classrooms. Stay tuned with us. Another video is coming. The next video we are working on, it is The Arms and the Man. So stay tuned with us. Thank you very much. Keep watching the classrooms.